Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Upper Smoky Indian Band. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Coyne, seconder?
Okay, we'll take turns.
Yeah, we'll take turns,
All in
correct.
favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes from the May 3rd, 2021 regular meeting of council.
So moved.
Elliott?
Second.
There's our missions. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Go down to staff reports. Development variance permit for 346 Hillside Avenue. Mark.
Variance to, yeah, 346 Hillside applied for a variance to vary the front setback fence up to 6 feet for deer reasons and dog reasons, essentially.
Any questions to Mark? Okay, we have a staff recommendation that the development variance permit DEP 2021-03 be approved.
So moved.
Councilor Coyne, seconder. Councilor Elliott. Any questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.2, development variance permit for 65 Billiter Avenue.
Second variance permit for 65 Billiter. This is to help with a oversight on foundation of a deck that's encroaching a little into the rear setback of the house. Decks are allowed to encroach 2 meters, but the foundation cannot. So looking at a little bit of an oversight on that one, but looking to correct that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councilor Elliott, seconder. Councilor McLean. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. So I just got a message that nobody can hear me. So can you hear me now? I got 2 mics on. I'm guessing nobody can hear me. I don't know what's going on.
Can they hear the rest of us?
Oh, now I can hear you. Can you hear everybody else? Sorry about that, everybody. Yes. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, 6.3, annual road paving. Jim?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm asking council to approve spending for $171,285 on our annual road paving program. The program consists of 5 overlays and approximately 7 water service cuts. The overlays will include all of Halliford from Bridge Street to Vermilion. The corridor at Corina Avenue and 1 large saw cut on Corina Avenue also. We have a number of areas on the Princeton Summerland Road that need to be overlaid, and this will include the entrance to the town of Princeton dump. The road there is becoming very eroded, so we're thinking that probably the best money will be spent to include that whole area there. The other area will be the southwest corridor of the airport road. Now this will not conflict with the sewage upgrade that's going to be coming in the future. So we've earmarked that one section in there, and then we're going to do what they call skip patching through the corridor for the internal length of the road. The road's getting in pretty poor shape there. So we've got that on the go. We also have an overlay on Edgewood Drive. That road is also becoming in very poor condition. This money has been already pre-approved to spend at the entry level, so I'm asking for the funds to be released so we can get moving on with our 2021 paving program. The section at Halliford, there might be a possibility of reclaiming some of that asphalt. We don't know until we start grinding. We don't know what the quality of the substrate is going to be, but once we do a test sample, we'll be able to see if we can reclaim any of that asphalt in that area. We also will be doing an overlay at the corner of Burton Avenue by Ace Hardware, what was known as Ace Hardware, which was Home Hardware now. That intersection is, we're having water damage, so we're going to actually reslope the road to the drainage system there. And same with Carina Avenue also. We're having drainage issues that are eroding private property in there, so we're going to reslope that road in there. So with all those bits of asphalt going on, I actually, I put in a submission for 2,000 meters. Actually, it should have been 12,000 meters of asphalt, and 850 meters of that will be saw cut. So those will be our water drainage jobs.
Okay.
Okay?
Does anybody have any questions? Councillor McLean?
Two, is there a price per square foot?
Yeah, so right now, Councilor McLean, we have approximately $20 per square. This is not including labor. This is just the tonnage of asphalt that we'll be using. The labor will be judged according to the amount of work that's basically comes out of the grinding and pre-prep. So the town public works will be prepping all our water cuts. So that would be just basically an asphalt fill at that point.
So in my memory, I go back to something like $74 back in my day.
Yeah, that probably would have been a tonnage value. So we're looking at $20 a square. So that basically equates to probably about 250 now.
Yeah.
A ton. So
I was curious.
Yeah.
The other thing is, we used to do have them do a survey of the paving in the town. I think True Engineer did it. CAO.
Yeah, I believe that there wasn't like a priority.
yeah, so we've established a priority. I had the contractor come out and measure up areas that I had chosen, and we came up with a total square footage at that point, which equates to approximately 12,000 meters of total asphalt.
Things can obviously change from what they things can go bad in certain areas, but it was handy for council members to be able to say, look and say, yes, your street is bad, and we will be dealing with it in a certain amount of time, kind of thing. It was really handy in terms of being able to give people, yeah, we're not going to be able to do it this year, but it is on for next year or for next year, sort of thing.
Yeah, so currently we've got the Lime Street corridor, and it's basically starting from Thomas Avenue all the way to Halliford. Those roads are in very poor condition. They will need to be upgraded in future. The setback with those is why we selected Halliford at that 100 block was there's no water services there. So usually, traditionally, once we've ground out a section of asphalt or a street, we have to replace all the water services at the same time. So that's going to be part of a larger capital
Exactly. Good.
project.
Super, thank you.
Thank you. Somebody want to make the staff recommendation? Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Willis.
Time.
Any further questions?
Me and George are wore out.
All in favor? Carried. And welcome, Councillor Willis. Old Town Clock, Jim.
Okay, so we're dealing with the Old Town Clock. If you've looked in the recent paper, they actually did a fairly decent job of describing the history on the clock. Now, this is a sensitive piece of Old Town history that needs to be treated with utmost respect. So as we started developing the visitor center for rehab, or a bit of a makeover there, the Old Town Clock it's the old girl's in pretty rough shape. So we dismantled it, we took it down, and basically it had stopped working approximately 6 to 8 months prior to us taking the clock down. So when we had taken it down, I was tasked by staff to have a look at it, do a survey on it, see if we can get parts for it. So ultimately, what the main problem was with the old clock was the electric motor had gone foul in it. So this has got a bit of a unique history. So the Miller family, Hugh Miller, passed away in '57, And the family put up this clock in his honorarium in 1958. And this timeline also coincided with the village of Princeton being part of the the municipal process at that time. So it basically incorporated. So this is a very focal part of the town's history. So with that being said, that was a very modern piece at the time. It's actually made by a company called Simplex. So I had actually reached out to a number of suppliers, actually even going as far as going back to Simplex themselves, and obviously it's a dated piece. So I had made an effort to find restoration parts for it, which I have succeeded in finding. However, it's a modern day rendition of an old world piece. So upon my study of this old clock, I found that a lot of it is not original anymore. Something happened to it in its time. The hands are actually old street signs, bits of street sign that the staff in the day had reconstructed and made good again. And the clock face is a piece of arena board that was repurposed from the ice arena. And the public works staff had actually detailed and put the markings or the numberings, basically had masked that stuff in. So what I gather, I talked to a lot of the village elders on this, and apparently it had Roman numerals at one time and a very intricate kind of sweep arm process that we just can't duplicate today. So I have found parts that are close, but they're not original. So with the unique history of this clock, to rebuild it, to repurpose it again, I don't think is an economical thing at this point, especially with the forward movement of the town's new look and that kind of thing. So my recommendation at this point, to save the history of the clock, I'm asking that we perhaps contribute it to the museum and keep it whole rather than sort of rebuild it and repurpose it again. The unfortunate part is it's a one-sided clock, which is very unusual. You only tell the time from one side, because originally it was mounted on the front face of the post office. So hence the one-sided clock. So my recommendation is to get either a two-sided clock or a three-sided clock. And I have the Rotary Club has actually extended their hands to us at the very preliminary state to fund the clock. So I think it's another thing that we have a discussion at a later date, whether we go that direction or the town decides to fund it themselves. So at this point, especially with the unique history of the clock, I think we should revisit this again at a later date, contribute this one to the museum and keep it as a whole in respect to the family. So that's it.
Yep, Councilor McLean.
Yeah, Rotary has been in discussions with that. Jim, did you come across any ballpark estimates of what a new one would cost?
I haven't, Councilor McLean. What I've got at this point is I've got approximately about $1,500 to $2,000 US dollars. There's a company in Oregon that has the parts for that are similar at this point to rebuild the old clock. Again, he's an old fella. He's had these clocks forever, so he has a good inventory on it. But he indicated to me that it won't look period correct. And I think if we're trying to, sort of retain the nostalgia of the clock, I think it's an effort that we should do. We shouldn't do half measured. As far as a replacement clock today, I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I don't even know where to get a clock like that anymore. That's something similar to that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's companies out there, but at this point, I don't have an answer for you.
I think Rotarians had already understood that it was going to be going to the museum or whatever, but their talk is doing a fundraiser in order to raise money enough to be able to purchase a new
Sure.
one. So, but we're going to have, I'm not sure if you or Jared could look up and see, there must be somebody that sells clocks that size or something that could go downtown if we're able to find one.
So just, I'll jump in here a bit. Rotary has already kind of sent a preliminary idea of what they're looking at. I think they sent it to Gary this afternoon. It's a beautiful piece. It's two-sided. I think it stands about, I want to say 16, 17 feet. Does that sound about right, Jim? And yeah, it would fit in perfectly. It'll last for a long time. I was talking to Judy yesterday, and the materials that it's made out of would, I think it was brass, she said, would last for
Yep.
a long time. So,
So
and I talked.
they have a price then?
I think they
Or
have
a ballpark
a
figure.
ballpark, I believe,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
And I talked to Lori Thomas today, who, Hugh and Phyllis are her uncle and aunt, and she's been in contact with the family, and she's going to reach out to them tomorrow as well to see if they want to possibly participate further in this. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Everybody's been in conversation about this, and
Good.
it's not, I think right now, personally, my opinion is that I like this recommendation. I think the museum is a good place for the clock. I mean, if we start altering any more, is it the same clock? I don't think so. So,
Well, I'd like to make that motion then.
thank you, Councillor Elliott. Seconder,
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Willis. Any further discussion or comment? All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Jim. 6.5, childcare needs, childcare action plan report, CAO.
Yeah, the town of Princeton participated in a regional effort. We were successful in getting a grant, and so the RDOS, Summerland, Oliver, Karamis, and Princeton worked together on developing a childcare needs / action plan. Specifically for Princeton, it was determined that we've got 57 licensed spaces, and based on a needs assessment, it looks like we need about 109, and that potentially will actually be it'll have to even increase with the new census numbers. Everything was done based on the census that we had, the census figures we had, as well as surveys and whatever. It's important to note that the provincial and federal government do have the primary responsibility for childcare in the province, but the municipality will play a strong supportive role, and we'll definitely be working in partnership with the provincial and federal government, as well as we'll be working in partnership with our neighboring communities and the regional district as well. That's where some of these people are coming here from to work. Now that we have this study done, it's anticipated that there will be future grants that'll come forward that we can apply for to help us with implementation or development or whatever. There is a strong push towards working with the school districts to help provide childcare services as well. So we'll definitely be working in partnership with them. Yeah, and that's it. I think that it took about a year to complete the study, and I think it's quite valuable, and I think it was well done by the contractor.
Mm-hmm. Any questions? No? Okay, we have a recommendation that the childcare action plan report be received for information only at this point.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis, seconder. Councillor McLean. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. 6.6, airport lighting project, electrical engineering services. Jared.
Yes, so in 2019, we applied to the Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure under the BC Air Access Grant Program for the construction of airport lighting. In 2020, October 2020, we were approved, and sorry, my notes here. Okay, so yeah, we were approved in October, and the snow started to fall, so we were kind of a little bit behind. So we just got the survey done, and now we're ready to roll with the rest of it. So I'm asking that Associated Engineering be awarded the contract. This is kind of the phase one. This will be design drawings and everything for the rest of the project.
When do you think the entire project would be completed?
If we get on track, well, we would like to be done before the snow flies, actually.
Okay.
We have until March of 2022,
Okay,
but we'd like to get the groundwork done
excellent.
before that.
Okay. Any further questions? Councilor McLean?
Jared, could you describe just where the lighting is it along the
It's gonna be,
runway?
yeah, it's gonna be airstrip lighting plus some flood lighting around the terminal building, stuff like that, and, approach lighting as well for the aircraft
So
coming
it
in.
just enables night.
Yeah, this is for
makes
nighttime
night
landing.
easier.
Yeah,
Okay.
and especially for the air ambulance, things like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have a staff recommendation to approve.
So moved.
Councilor McLean, seconder.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Willis, further question or comment? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Council report, since you were late, you get to go first. Councilor Willis.
I don't have any meetings to report this evening there, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Been a little slow lately.
Councilor Elliott.
Also kind of slow for me as well. This coming week, I've got a lot of meetings, but I will say that today I was involved in a project that is going to be kind of a tourism marketing event for the community, and that was pretty fun that I was able to help with a local group with that, and that's pretty much all I've got.
Excellent. Councilor McLean.
I'm similar to Councilor Willis. I had no meetings.
Okay. Other than my regular meetings, I think the only other one is I went to a virtual luncheon with Minister Conroy of Flinroe. A virtual luncheon is interesting because you, I guess, sit there and watch them and eat your lunch. It was an industry, logging industry meeting. Not a lot new coming out of it. Province is still dedicated to the change in the allowable cut allocation and the targets that they set out under UNDRIP. Other than that, there was no new information that came out of it. I do have something to say, though. I've been in talks with a number of businesses in town, and I've talked to Interior Health, and we need to make sure everybody who is eligible to register for your vaccination to please register. The more people that register and get on the list, the more chances we have of having more vaccination dates in town. And then the faster we can get people vaccinated, the faster we can hopefully return to some sort of normality around here. So if you haven't and you haven't registered already and you're over the age of 18 or 18 and over, please register. Just Google vaccination BC and you should be able to register. It takes a couple minutes and then you'll get your registration or you get your vaccination date. It's, you know, I don't want to say it's painless, but it's virtually painless. So please do that. We need to get everybody vaccinated if for nothing else than to try to make our workplaces safer and our community safer. That's all for that. We will go to correspondence receive and file. We have 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3, and 8.4. Before we get a motion, I just want to bring attention to 8.1. I received a letter back from the Attorney General and Minister responsible for housing. I sent the Premier a follow-up to our UBCM meeting from last September, and he forwarded our letter. I was just explaining everything that we've done in terms of DCC's work and OCP review and our infrastructure and whatnot, and the Premier then forwarded that to the Attorney General, who's now responsible for housing. So the Minister got back to me on May 6th, just saying that he received it and that we seem to be doing everything that we're doing what we should be doing. So that was a good one. And then the other one is 8.4, which is our Q1 2021 stats for RCMP calls. And I think overall we're doing doing pretty good. We're
Very
down.
impressive.
We're down from last year, which is nice to see. There was a couple that were rather large, again, theft from vehicles, again, 1 last year, 7 this year. A lot of these, after conversation with Sergeant Hughes, a lot of the theft from vehicles is people either leaving their vehicles unlocked, leaving their keys in their vehicle. There was one case where a guy left his truck running out in front of the liquor store, I believe it was, and they turned off the truck and they took the keys and they left the truck. So lock your cars is the moral of that story. That's it. So can I get a motion to receive and file? Councillor
Second, Mr. Mayor.
McLean, seconder, Councillor Willis. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Correspondence action requested. We have a request from Unit Chief in Karamias that we provide a letter of support for healthcare workers to BC Emergency Services. This is a, everybody read the letter there? It's to help with staffing mostly. We're having staffing issues at with BC Ambulance in the Valley. Karamias has been covering Princeton. Karamias is now having staffing issues. And they're just looking for support from the municipalities to take on to their employer and above, so.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Elliott, seconder. Councillor McLean, questions? All in favor? Carried, and that brings us to the wrap. Motion to adjourn.
That motion, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Willis, Councillor McLean, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Good night, everybody. I'll turn off both my mics.